Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled board meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. Let the record reflect that all board members are present this evening. We'd like to welcome all of our guests, both physical and virtual, to our board meeting this evening. May I please have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Merkley.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Borg. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is adopted unanimously. There was no action taken in closed session this evening. Next up, we are going to have a student board members report. Welcome, Ms. Jamison.
Good evening, Superintendent Dr. DeLeon and esteemed members of the board. This upcoming week will be an exciting one for seniors at Glendora High School. We are partnering with Herff Jones to host an event on campus that will take place on Wednesday, November 4th. This event will include different stations that will provide an opportunity to order caps and gowns and other senior memorabilia, such as class rings, tassels, spirit gear, and more. There's some surprises planned, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This week is Red Ribbon Week, yet ASB is taking a different toll on it, and we're doing a spooky edition. ASB has a number of Red Ribbon Week activities planned. On Monday, there will be an art competition and a virtual scavenger hunt. On Tuesday, there will be an inspirational speaker for students, as well as a Kahoot game with prizes. On Wednesday, there will be yoga and a TikTok competition. Thursday, there will be a drug-free pledge, and on Friday, there will be movie night.
Good evening, Dr. DeLeon and esteemed members of the school board. So regarding GHS athletics and performing arts, athletics began on October 12th and performing arts just started last week. It's so uplifting to finally see classmates in a fun yet safe environment. Students are overjoyed to finally get back to doing the things they love most. Thank you.
Thank you both very much, ladies. All right, moving right along to Dr. DeLeon's superintendent report, please.
Thank you, Trustee Bruder, members of the board, members of the community, our wonderful staff who are all here tonight. So all I can say is I am thrilled to announce the return to school of about 100 students in GUSD. Really proud to announce our October 19th start of our small cohort return. And I have to tell you that I think all of us who went and visited classrooms and campuses last Monday were moved to see actual students in person, getting off buses, getting out of cars, lining up, socially distanced, on their dots, marching into class, trying to stay 6 feet apart. It was just a wonderful, really emotional day for me. I don't know about everybody else, but I was breaking down all day long because we know that all of us in this room and all of the people out there who are here to be recognized tonight really are in this business for kids, and we want to see kids and we want to be with kids again, and we want to spend time with them and have them in our classrooms because it's their big drive. And so as we follow the health orders from the LA County Department of Public Health and are able to bring certain groups of kids back in certain percentages, we are doing that. Really proud to say that we are one of only 2 districts in the San Gabriel Valley that have brought students back. We were right there, one of only 2. So really proud of that. So I do have other pictures and things I want to look at in this before I bring everybody in. So if we could move to the next one, just to remind everybody that we basically started planning for the return of phase one, 10% of students who are in targeted groups that have been approved by the state. We got notification that we would be allowed to do that on August 27th, notified our teachers and began the planning process on September 3rd, and it culminated in that return on October 19th and is still going. And by the way, it has been hugely successful. So next slide. So these are some of the pictures of our socially distanced rooms and folks, and even our backpacks hanging outside the doors were socially distanced, and everybody was following the rules and wearing their masks, and it's been wonderful. But before I say anything else, I have to thank all of the many, many, many people who had any part in this. And so at this time, if we could invite in everyone who's here tonight, our principals and everybody, to be recognized for their hard work in bringing our kiddos back to campus, because that's what our goal has been all along. So here they come. That's one of those is GHS, the one on the left. The one in the middle is, I think, Goddard, GMS, and then I think the one on the far right is Sutherland. So some of them have the nice college concrete ones. And that first picture that was on the very front side is Sutherland. And I'm showing that pictures in the back of their heads. Come on in and socially distance, everybody. Come on in. You can start it out.
Oh, I'll be the first one.
You'll be the first one. Come on in. Yeah, she just kind of come on in. She just kind of wants you to. No.
Sorry. Testing? Oh, it's on. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Is everybody in? Here we go. Okay. Woo.
On the side.
Come on, everybody in.
Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm all about recognizing as many people as we can. So we have 75 site employees and staff, including including our administrators, teachers, and classified staff who are part of this reopening. But before I really start calling off names, the first person I'm going to introduce who really spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours coordinating is Mr. Paul Lopez, our Executive Director of Special Education. And of course, guided by his boss, Dr. Virginia Kelson, our Assistant Supervisor Services. And of course, his entire team. So I'm just going to start with these cards, and I'm going to call your name, just wave, and then we're going to do this huge raucous round of applause when we're done. Okay, you ready? Because I like raucous. So here we go. Okay, so let's start with the principals. So we have our site principals. I have Karen Acevedo over here from Sutherland. There she is. Woo. I almost said Acevedo. I'm so sorry. Okay. Steve Bishop Sellers. I saw him. Dr. Cheryl Bonner, Cullen. Woo! Dr. Sarah Najarro from Stanton. Dr. Marie Porcel from La Fetra. There she is. We got Eric Osborne, Sandberg. Dr. Jennifer Prince from Goddard. Brummett, GHS, right here. And last but by certainly no means least, we got Ron Letourneau from Wicked. Woo! All right, here we go. We're going to break it down some more. We got Melissa Kelly in the room. Woo! Who's our program specialist? Thank you. We have Lainey Armstrong, program specialist. There she is. Yay! Woo! Okay, moving on. Our district nurse, a huge part of our return, Sonia Del Aquila. Woo! Okay, you cannot bring kids back without your district nurse being all over it, am I right? That's right. Michelle Gallo, director of our Tiny Tardens. Woo! We have Robin Davidson from Adult Transition. Yay! Rebecca Pryor, Adult Transition. Woo! I got it in the back of the card. Holly Serco, Adult Transition. Tina Gomez, Adult Transition. Woo! I think that, did I get everybody?
It's in there.
Everybody in the room? Yes, and then I want you to also know that so many other people in our district staff really helped out with everything from training, Becky Summers and everybody. I'm telling you, if I missed you, I'm sorry, but of course, Dr. DeGracia, Mr. Chaldu, everybody had a huge part in this. So I'm excited, and I want to personally thank all of you, and on behalf of the board as well, for all of your hard work. We know that the planning that went in to our return was monumental. It was a lot of work. It was a heavy lift, right? But we did it for our kids. And I want to thank all of you so much. Appreciate it.
And we want to thank you guys because we appreciate all the hard work you've done. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody.
On behalf of the board, I would like to say that one of the many challenges is having your mask on, and I'm sure that I speak for all 5 of us. My cheeks are hurting from
Yes.
smiling as big as I am
Yes.
right now. We can't thank you all enough for your hard work and dedication, for all the students and their families, and what it means to get these kids back in class and get the ball rolling back here in Glendora. So if I could take off my mask, you'd see that I have a Cheshire Cat grin right now. I'm so happy to see you all in person. Please keep up the hard work, the good work. It's really good work that you're doing. And there may be some bumps in the road, and we're learning along the way, but it's the most important thing right now. And we thank you all sincerely from the bottom of our heart for all of the hard work that you're all doing right now. Thank you all very much. It's very nice to see you all in person. Thank you.
Yay!
You think?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, just so you all know, you know that we're the forerunners. And oh, I wanted to let you all know, because you're not going to maybe see the next slide. Okay, well, here's the next slide. But I wanted to also tell all of you, so you know, that we are a model district. And I found out today that we have 2 other districts, Claremont and Walnut Valley, who are going to see our classrooms to see how it's done. So, woo! Kudos and hats off to all of you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I like a good celebration, don't
I
you?
really am smiling big under my
I
mask.
am,
Thank you
I
very
am.
much. Okay.
And so the last slide, we have one more slide,
Please.
and this is it, and I'll do this briefly. Our next steps, we are planning our phase 2 return. Last Thursday, the 22nd, the county director of public health, Dr. Ferrer, announced that she would increase the small cohort percentage to 25%, again, only for targeted groups approved by the state. Those groups include special education, English learners, homeless, foster youth, students who are at potential. In the olden days, we used to call them at risk, but actually they're at potential. But also students who have problems with Wi-Fi connectivity. So those are some of the kids that will be coming back in, and students with 504s, which I forgot to put on here. Those are some of the kids that will be coming back in the 25%. And we hope to be able to do that relatively soon. And also the fact that we have already brought back kids and we have a system, we've done a lot of the heavy lifting, we know it works, and so it should be a bit easier to bring back this next group. So we're really excited about that. And then also a part of that is we're trying to also plan for some after-school services and programs as well for kids who have classes to go to during the day but need extra help. And in fact, we have an entire presentation today about all of those services. So anyway, thank you, board, so much for giving me this opportunity.
That was a spectacular superintendent's report. Very happy to see everybody. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on to staff presentations and information, and it's my pleasure to ask Dr. Kelson, Dr. Summers, and Dr. DeGrazia to come on up, or however you're managing your.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. DeLeon, esteemed community members, and colleagues in the room. We are thrilled this evening to update you on the progress that we've made in bringing students back to where we know they learn best, which is to school. So Dr. Summers is going to talk with you briefly about the outstanding work that she is leading our teams of teachers through. I would simply like to say, as we set this stage for this evening's presentation, that throughout the summer, our district's mission has been one of listening to our students, listening to their families, listening to the directives of the state and public health department in the county, and really listening to each other to figure out the most effective way to solve the problems that we're facing while keeping student learning and student health at the forefront of what we do. So I'd like to turn the mic over to Dr. Becky Summers now. She's going to talk us through how we are working diligently to bring more students back to campus. Dr. Summers.
Yay.
I'm not Dr. Summers, but I'm going to clean the microphone.
Oh, good evening, Dr. Reuter and board members, Dr. DeLeon Cabinet. Thank you for letting me come and speak tonight. Tonight I'm going to kind of walk you through how we're engaging our stakeholders to get input and develop the hybrid model for the next phase of the return. So just briefly, the three things we're going to talk a little bit about tonight and share input on are surveys given to all teachers on professional development needs, the meetings we've had with our tech leads at both secondary and elementary levels and their input, and also the input from the logistics and scheduling committee that was reconvened recently from the summer, and as TK2 teachers, since they will most likely be the first to return. In 2 slides, I will share with you their actual input. This is a slide with small print, but just to give you a brief overview of this slide are 4 potential models of what hybrid instruction could look like in the classroom. These were 4 models that we presented to teachers, and then we sat back and took input from them on additional models, on concerns they might have about any of these, what they liked, what they thought might work, but what concerns were. So basically we broke it down into 4 different pieces. We are talking here of using an external webcam, which is different from your integrated webcam, which is part of your computer. They have options to do either one, but we wanted to show how an external webcam might work here. So we have models that show that you would use that off and on while you are doing a morning meeting with your in-person and online class, and then moving to an instructional block where you would teach a lesson to both the students in front of you and at home, then move to independent work time, and back and forth until you go through your scheduled day. That was one model. Another model was really doing one at a time, in person, and then putting them to independent work while you focused on your online. That was model 2, called the synchronous asynchronous. The third one was a model that might work better with older students, which is kind of like distance learning but in a classroom. So every student is still connected to a device, but the teacher's in the room. So she's kind of teaching to you, but you're on your device, and the kids at home also on their devices. And the fourth model is you would simply leave your webcam on and you would go through your day with your class, and your online model, your online students would be observing and watching and participating. So that's a full-on model. So we presented the 4 models, and they could go back and forth between models depending on what they needed. We suggested a few strategies that they might be able to use. Okay, next slide. So this slide gives you kind of an overview or summary of the input that we're getting from these three things that I talked about in the beginning. So from teacher surveys, we know these were the highest rated needs expressed, that getting more student engagement is their, across the board at all levels, their most pressing need. And then time management, personal wellness, proficiency in Canvas, of course, time for collaboration, more tech tools, more Zoom strategies, and then accommodating learners and using instructional aids. That's a lot there, but that will help us to formulate the professional development plan. From our tech leads, we were learning from them really how they need to structure the tech support, the tech tickets, the flow chart for tech support so that teachers and parents know who to go to when they're having tech issues or what they're having their tech issue about. So that's being worked on. And then from the logistics and scheduling team, we learned that the teachers have concerns about teaching simultaneously to online and in-person students. And this is true especially at the lower grades, where we were talking to them and feeling that they need to really focus on one group. They wanted us to reconsider or look at a possible AM/PM model, and then would like us to consider separating fully online learners from the ones coming in hybrid and giving them different groups of teachers. And then finally, if we're going to go with this model, they recognized that teacher training on this instructional model would be critical. So next steps here is to create a comprehensive tech training program and plan that also includes professional development in using the technology in their classroom. Okay, I am going to hand it over to Dr. DeGrazia at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, President Reuter, Dr. DeLeon, members of the board, of course, distinguished guests. I'm going to take my mask off so you can hear me clearly up here. First of all, I'd like to thank Educational Services. You heard what Dr. Summers detailed, Dr. Kelson's work in leading that group, and the involvement of all of our staff, certificated and classified through the summer, through these preceding months, to a special ed reopening, which we heard about just moments ago. It's impressive. The logistics are immense and will continue to be. So it's the time to invest in our people and to hear and listen from their experiences and their passions to ensure that we give the best opportunity for our students going forward. So some of the things we've done with our staff, and again, listening with them and with our partners in the union, also GTA with Joanne Johnson and Eric Smith, thank them, and Marianne Nichols and CSEA, and the leadership really listening to form guidelines and protocols for our staff for working safely on campus in this COVID-19 world that we're in. So looking closely at the procedures, following our protocols and practices that the LA County Department of Public Health has outlined and that we're following now and that we will continue to follow. Safety preparation for structure and space, personal protective equipment, the COVID care team, site walks and site safety walks. Staff had multiple opportunities for our special ed reopening to visit their classrooms and their structure and see what it would look like and see what they need in terms of resources going forward. We will continue to do that for each and every group that will reopen. Training. Dr. Summers spoke extensively about that, professional development, technology, pedagogical training, and the nuts and bolts of hardware as far as how it works and how it will assist students. Cleaning and disinfecting procedures, our custodians and the work they've done. Our parent forums brought to you by our administrative team, as they did with special ed parents as well, detailed, and they will do in the future with other groups that continue to join us in the future. Mental health resources are important, of course, for our students, but they're important for staff. as well. We've really expanded our offerings. We have our Wellness Wednesdays. It's important, again, just for all of us to recall that. And there's the Glendora Healthy Minds website that's available for not only staff supports, but for students. And we also added the EASE, Employee Assistance Service for Educators, through LACO for the first time ever. And we also have Care Solace as we continue to work with our staff. We've detailed leave options that are available for staff. Those are confidential conversations that we have in terms of documenting serious chronic medical conditions that could affect their return. And then there's the Super 75. Dr. DeLeon referenced them already. You saw some of them, but many are behind the scenes. And they were the ones that were out in front and allowed us to have a wonderful reopening with special education. And we look for many, many successful reopenings in the future. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. DeGrazia. Very nice.
Super 75, I love that. I'll ask if anybody has any questions at this point in time for this part of the presentation. Not right now? Okey doke.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your hard work too. Boy, everybody's really, really, really working hard to get this done. Thank you.
That's very evident. Thank you. Now I'll look forward to hearing from our dynamic duo from the middle schools, Dr. Prince and Mr. Osborne, for a report on academic supports, please.
Woohoo!
Okay, we're going to take turns so that poor Suzette does not have to come up and between each time we're talking, clean the mic for us. Anytime. All right. So we are talking about GUSD and the supports we have here for our students. And the most important thing to remember is why we have these supports. We have these supports because we want our students to be successful. We want academic and social emotional success so that not only they can be successful at school, but so they can be successful in the long run. It opens more opportunities for them. And we want our kids to have bright, rich, fulfilling futures. So we're going to start with academic support, but I do want to give a disclaimer. We are firm believers that although academic support is incredibly helpful, we are not putting it first because it's more important than social emotional. They go hand in hand. If you don't address what their hearts need, you can't take their minds to the fullest potential. So all of the supports we talk about here tonight are incredibly important. So let's go on to the next slide. Oh, you're already ahead of me. Look at Dr. Summers back there. All right, so we'll start with our district-wide interventions and supports for academics. We have small group interventions, instructional aids supporting small groups with skills practice as well as in the classrooms. Our goal students are now getting support using our Avid tutors. We have supply distributions where we're doing drive-throughs, whether that be library books, science experiments, math books, more Chromebooks trading out, whatever they need, we're making sure our students have those supplies and they're able to come get them from us. We have attendance protocols and intervention supports that we've recently refined more so that we go through very clear tiers with our attendance. Some other district-wide supports, we have office hours every day with our teachers so they can get that small group and individualized support from their teacher every afternoon from 1:30 to 2:30. We continue to have the IST process with our parents in Zoom. We have brain-fused tutoring. Oh,
Can you tell for the folks at home what IST stands for, please?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Intervention Support Team. So this is when we find our students struggling. These are the first steps we take, meeting with teachers, parents, administrators, counselors, finding out what supports do our students need. Thank you, Mrs. Bruner. Brain-fused tutoring through the Glendora Library. We have our 2 study hall options now, which one is Michelle Gallo still here? No? Oh, shout out to Michelle Gallo. We have our TK8 supervised study hall that is through the daycare. And the students are there. They are learning online. They have classified supporting them. We also have our 7th through 12th grade at Crowther Teen Center, where they have a GUSD teacher and a GUSD special education aide supporting them as they learn from 8 to 1 each day. So great in-person supports there. We also recently got our tutoring list released.
Ooh,
Yes, lots of supports, and it doesn't even stop there.
I know.
Here we go for more. Now we're moving on to our elementary support. So like we talked about, our instructional aides working with our small groups and supporting their different skills they need. We have TAP students from APU coming into work in small groups with Stanton and LaFetra students. We have Barton's intervention and teacher tutoring on Wellness Wednesdays for our students who need it. At the middle school level, we have small groups in intervention, and they do that in their elective classes, so they have that period built in. We have our homework clubs virtual in the afternoon where we have teachers supporting them, and those are both general education and special education teachers. The kids can come in and go into breakout rooms. They can be encouraged to go to their own teacher's office hours or drag them in to the meet for a few. We have our AVID tutorials going on, and counselors are working diligently, and this is at every level. Shout out to our counselors. They are working hard, tracking the grades. They are meeting with the students. They're working with the teachers. They're doing Zoom meetings. I have seen how diligent they are at kind of mother henning all of their kids and really getting them in there. So wonderful supports. For our high school academic supports, we have after-school math tutoring, the AVID tutorials. 9th and 10th graders have live online tutoring 24/7 through tutor.com.
Wow.
Small group support in their elective classes for intervention as well. And again, those counselors are monitoring, they are communicating, they're working with the teachers, trying to get every support in place. And now I hand it over to my esteemed colleague and partner in crime, Mr. Osborne, for our social emotional support.
Thank you, Dr. Prince. Yes,
Before you go, Dr. Prince,
you have a question?
I'm just wondering how families would access tutors at the elementary and middle school.
Sorry, I'm gonna make you bleed again. This is campus, I'm sorry. So it would depend on which ones, the AVID or the homework club tutoring. They have the links that are in their Canvas. If it's tutoring with the individual teachers, those are also links with Canvas. If it is the tutoring list, the parents can get the list from their school counselor, and they can contact the subject-specific teachers or grade level specific. That
Okay,
they
I
would
just
like to
wanted to
work
know
with.
how parents, if you have parents out there that are interested in tutors, where do they go to find that information?
Yeah, go
Thank
to
you.
your school counselor or your school administrator, and those
Thank
are
you.
your go-to spots for support.
Thank you.
All right. Any other
Any other
questions?
questions before we wipe the microphone?
Don't want to make Suzette work like the hold.
Thank you, excuse me.
This is such great information. Thank you.
Good evening. It's so nice to see everybody in person. I hope everyone's doing well. So as Dr. Prince mentioned, the welfare of our students is absolutely paramount, absolutely critical. We know that many of us, our families, our students have been living through trauma these last 7 months. And so it's absolutely our obligation and our duty to provide a variety of supports for them. And I'd like to thank our mental health coordinators, our incredible counseling team, our teachers, our aides. They are truly on the front lines and doing the hard work every single day. So let's get started. Next slide, please. All right, so district-wide emotional supports. Our probably biggest and most robust program is our Glendora Healthy Minds. It's truly a program. It encompasses a website that is incredibly informational, has resources for students, for families, and for staff. It also includes social media blasts and communication to those three groups as well. And within that is embedded parent education. So currently we've been doing that twice a month, and it's been relatively successful. And so we're really thankful for the hard work of the Glendora Healthy Minds Club. We also have an offshoot of that at the middle and elementary levels as well. Wellness Wednesdays have been geared towards students' overall wellness. And the way we've been doing that is by using Character Strong curriculum. One of the key components of Character Strong is really focusing on the overall well-being of the child and really focusing on connections and kindness. Connections and kindness are super key right now to the well-being of our students. Our counselors are doing check-ins daily with students. They're probably our most valuable site-based resource for our families. They are really talented individuals of really getting to know our children, getting to know our families, and really connecting people to resources and really being that front line. We're so very thankful for all of their hard work. Part of that is we offer both group and individual therapy at all levels. Kids love to interact. I think all of our kids are missing seeing their friends, missing their teachers, their peers. And so at all levels, we are working really hard to incorporate clubs and activities. We also are including monthly parent education nights on a variety of topics. And we are just starting to create district-wide virtual events. And so our first one's coming up during Thanksgiving break, and that is our first annual turkey trot. We have just under 900 students participating in that district-wide. In addition, for those that are more flexible than me, we have weekly free yoga classes, and that's for students, and I believe there is also a staff one of those as well. Speaking specifically about elementary, teachers are doing an incredible job. They do daily check-ins, so they do kind of the rose and the thorn, or the high and the low, checking in with those kids. And when those kids are expressing concern, those teachers are really reaching out to those students individually, asking them to stay after class, attend office hours, all of those good things. They have School Tools TV, which provides a daily message related to social, emotional, academic, and behavior support. They also have what's called heart videos, and obviously we're talking a lot about capturing their heart. If we capture their heart, we could capture their mind. A few clubs that are going on at the elementary level are Kind Kids Club and the Good News Club. We also have many family activities. Of course, those are all being created virtually, and several student recognition programs. At the middle school level, we have obviously our counseling, which includes individual and group therapy. We have weekly family activities for Wellness Wednesdays, mental health support, virtual assemblies, which right now has been through Character Strong. Focus on connections. We're always working to connect kids with one another and with staff members. We're always doing that. And some really innovative and unique student recognition opportunities. Over at the high school, they have the Nominee Healthy Minds, which is another Healthy Mind mental health support club. Very, very popular with our high school students. Over at Whitcomb High School, they have a program called Brains and Bronze that includes working out and also getting that academic and social emotional support. And district-wide, but really at the high school, they're doing an incredible job with social media posts, really encouraging positive messages. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from any of the board members? I actually do, and this is kind of a question for both of you, though I know you both have a good projecting voice that you can carry. I'm really overwhelmed by all the different academic and social emotional supports that are being employed to help our students through this time right now. And what it seems to me is that it requires a lot of individual connections. It's the teachers being that first line, seeing something, saying something, maybe directly to a student, maybe getting a counselor involved, doing all of that kind of stuff. So I certainly applaud and I know that this is what teachers do every day in a normal setting as well, but wow, to have to really dial in on the cameras and look at that is really impressive. What I want to ask you both, and this isn't a gotcha question, but as far as these other groups are concerned and larger supports and different tutoring and all of that kind of stuff, like how's it really going? Are the kids really engaging in some of these different programs on their own? Are you happy with the turnout as far as these different group programs or group activities that may be voluntary, not attendance-based, whatever the case might be like? I think that when I listen to parents in the community, what children are struggling now with is a sense of apathy, right? They're not necessarily leaving their house, so they don't have the motivation to try something new or get engaged in something. It's easier just to turn the TV on at 12:45 when they're done Zooming, whatever the case might be. Like, how's it actually going on the day-to-day type basis?
I'd like to speak to that, and clearly I only have a very narrow middle school perspective at that. I think there's two camps of kids, and I think that's always been the case, right? There's kids that are really intrinsically motivated to get involved, and there's kids that might be kind of like me. I was more of an introvert and kind of shy, right? So I think it really depends on personality. I can tell you at the middle school level at Sandburg, we've created, I think, 14 new clubs, and the kids have been incredibly engaged in it. Is it wide scale, hundreds of kids? No, it's not. Okay, we're getting there. But you know, our culinary club, for example, the kids are making pizzas and making a slide deck. They're doing some innovative things, and the key is that we're working really hard to connect kids, and we have programs that we now could invite. So when that teacher sees that kid is lonely or not connecting, we have an opportunity. We have a program that we could then connect that kid to like-minded peers and adults.
Thank you. Can I add to Mr. Osborne's here? I can probably project from right where I am. I still have my teacher voice. I think a good thing too is we have a strong team of people who are involved. So as we see things that maybe aren't being used to their full potential, we revise, we work together, and we figure out, all right, this isn't being used to its full potential. How do we need to alter it? What do we tweak? Or how do we pull more kids in? And I know I was talking to our ASB about a lunch game the other day, and they had 97 kids tuning into a lunch game. So I think it's really figuring out how to harness that and how to advertise it. And like he said, the teachers on the ground are really the ones that are showing us this kid needs somebody to reach out to them and getting that targeted support. But it's about revisions and
Innovation.
Constant brainstorming and flexibility.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Any other follow-up questions or comments?
I have a comment. I want you two to know, and all principals or anybody who's listening, that when I meet with the students on my superintendent advisory councils, and I have 3 levels, the one thing that the difference between this last meeting just a week or so ago and the previous month is they talked about how excited they were to have online interaction with their friends through all the various clubs. And the middle school students especially were very complimentary in the fact that they had like dozens of clubs. And in fact, while we were on the Superintendent's Advisory Council, they were trying to recruit kids who were on there to be in their clubs. So it was just wonderful. And the same was said for the high school and elementary levels, that the first council meeting, they did say they would like to have more interaction, and I think our staff and our principals took that to heart, and it really worked very, very hard to get some fun things together for kids. So I want to thank you and your staff who are running the clubs and all of that, so that you know your kids really, really love it and appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay. We have no public hearing scheduled for this evening. Now we will move on to the public input section of the board meeting, where speakers may address the Board of Education on non-agenda and agenda items. Board policy requires that public presentations to the board comply with the procedures as previously listed on the agenda.
My name is Evelyn Ray Jarvie. I am 7.5 years old. Sometimes on the computer, I feel like no one hears me when I'm talking because they're all talking at once. I get muted a lot of times, so when I'm explaining something, they just cut me off. I'm an only child, so I don't have friends or a sibling to play with. And I get a lot of headaches because I'm spending too much time on screen. That's it. Thank you for understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to talk to us,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Jarvie.
You're welcome.
We're still on the delay.
Hello, my name is Devin Blanche, and I have a 3rd grader here at Sellers Elementary. I work part-time, so 3 days of the week my son goes to daycare. He's been attending this daycare since March with no interruption. All of the employees do wear masks, but none of the children do, and there is no social distancing. On average, every day there are approximately 60 children in attendance. The daycare has had 0 cases of COVID. Is that surprising to you? Because it is not surprising to me. Every day when I get home, I have to go through his assignments, check at least 4 different platforms to verify he was able to understand and complete all of his work. This is a frustrating task for both of us. I'm not there with him on Monday through Wednesday, so the last 2 days of the week, I try to focus on his class and listen as well as I can with a toddler in the house. Every day I listen, I have to shut the door to keep my son from seeing and hearing my frustration with the lack of education he is getting. I do not blame his teacher, but the lack of experience with online school and difficulty controlling 26 8-year-olds on a computer leaves very little actual time for learning. My son is a better auditory learner, so I see him struggle daily with the Google Doc forms and online tests. While I understand that it's easy to say that your hands are tied by the county rules and regulations, you have a duty to the parents and children of this district to be doing everything you can to improve the education for students in Glendora. Can you honestly say you have done that? Have you been writing letters to the appropriate delegates daily? Have you been encouraging us, the parents, to do the same? Have you given us any indication that it is your desire to return to school? Because from where I am standing, it is clear to me that this is not your intent. The Gazette you are sending out is a poor attempt at placating us while you pat yourself on the backs for being transparent when you have been anything but. I watched a video from the Arcadia superintendent, which has more information in 6 minutes than we have received from you in 6 months. I recommend you watch it, Dr. DeLeon, and take note of what is your responsibility as our superintendent. Are you aware that there are parents who are actively refusing to participate in GUSD fundraising until you have resigned or been let go? As an educator, how can you stand by and see that you are the reason our district is not receiving the support it could be getting? We are frustrated and trying to do all we can to get our children the best education possible, and it is incredibly disheartening that our children's educational leaders aren't doing the same. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Blanche.
Good evening. My name is Kimberly Jordison. I have 2 children, 4th and 8th grade. 100% of my children are so far failing this year, and it's very concerning and not acceptable. So I work at a school in another district, at a private boarding school. We have been operating the whole time since the beginning of COVID. We have had students on campus. They live on campus, so they're like family. So it's a little bit of a different circumstance. However, there have been no COVID outbreaks. There have been no teachers or staff sick. There is no reason why our students should not be in school for in-person, just as they were before this ridiculous shutdown started. On top of that, in the school district that I work in the public schools, they are providing their teachers that have children of their own childcare so that they can do their job appropriate. So our teachers, I had a conversation with one of my children's teachers today on the phone, and she's telling me how she's trying to juggle multiple kids at home and doing online learning. And this is just, this is not acceptable for our children, for their education. They're already behind from last year. They're now behind this year. I've also heard that for the students that are on the GOAL program, we were given the decision at the beginning of the school year to choose either the hybrid model or the GOAL program. It's my understanding that the GOAL program was only purchased for half of the year, and that potentially our students that are on GOAL currently are going to be left in the dark. That is unacceptable. So what happens to them? I'd also like to know why our teachers don't feel supported. I've talked to various teachers, and they are very frustrated. They don't feel supported. And I think that that's your guys' job, correct? Why are you not supporting the teachers? Why do they feel unsupported and stressed out and not able to have a decent family life with everything going on? They are trying to bend over backwards to do their job and to be a parent, And you guys are doing nothing to help them to do that right. This is unacceptable. You guys need to step up. That's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Jorgensen.
I can remove this. Good evening. My name is Christine Perkins. I'm going to talk a little bit about mental health today. In trying to spare our children from physical illnesses due to COVID-19, their mental well-being is suffering. Isn't the health of their mind and emotional well-being just as important as their physical well-being? I work in the mental health field for the last 10 years. I am an executive member of our leadership team at Amen Clinics. We have clinics nationwide, spanning from the West Coast to the East Coast. And unfortunately, I'm keenly aware of the mental health crisis in this country, in particular with our youth. Unfortunately for so many, negatively impacted by our quarantine, our clinics right now are extremely busy. Not a happy thing to say. We are seeing an increase in patients over 50% over last year. Our nationwide clinics see children as well as adults. We have children and adult psychiatrists and counselors. And we've had a spike of 36% more children and adolescent patients since March, middle of March. And the complexity of their co-occurring issues is probably the most alarming statistic. We are seeing an increase in anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations, use of substances, illicit, PTSD, and behavioral problems are extremely exacerbated. And grief, which people don't think about grief, but when you can't go to school and you can't see your friends and you can't participate in sports, you are grieving that, just like you would grieve divorce or the death of a loved one. Entire families right now are suffering. There are many, many articles. I brought many I could leave with you. Research articles on speaking to the mental unrest of our youth due to social and physical isolation. The research shows the pandemic is having many negative effects on our children's physical and mental health, and that the parents at home are not equipped to handle these situations. As a mother of 2 children at Glendora High School, of which both have challenges with an ADD diagnosis and an anxiety diagnosis, I'm extremely concerned about their mental health being now. And not only now, but in their future. Issues they're experiencing today are predictive of future mental health issues. So this is only the beginning. The mental impact of our young people due to lockdowns and isolation are only barely visible at this time. It is our responsibility to ensure that the environment promotes well-being physically and mentally.
Time.
I'll just close. We must act responsibly by looking at both sides of their mental health, or their health, mental and physical. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mrs. Perkins.
Good evening. My name is Mark Luera, and I got a couple of things to cover here. So please bear with me. Good evening, Dr. DeLeon and school board members. My name is Mark Luera. I've been a proud Glendora resident for 15 years now. I currently have 2 kids here at the schools, both at Goddard. My daughter Milana is a 7th grader, and my son Marco is a strong 8th grade boy. I'm speaking tonight out of concern not only for them, but for our community as a whole. It goes without saying that these are extremely difficult times for everybody. As a parent, I trust you as our school board and you as our superintendent to make the right decisions. And unfortunately, I've lost trust in both the school board and you, the superintendent. The lack of direction has been nothing short of failure. I've read of other districts going back to school, granted, not in LA County, but they're back in class. So I ask, what waivers have been submitted as of today, and are we submitting going forward? What are we going to be submitting? What PPE is already in place in case we do get the green light? I'd like to know who is handling the communication with the LA County Office of Education and what kind of real updates are we getting? I'd also like to know how we as a district have not gone to the county and told them, why should we be grouped with all these other schools in LA City and LA County? Why are we grouped with them? When our local numbers for COVID, they're extremely low. And yet we receive these same restrictions that everybody else is getting. So the effects of this are being just like horrible on my kids and our community and me. I mean, I'm usually a guy who holds it together, but I'm not angry at you folks. I'm just angry in general, or frustrated in general. Teachers, staff, administrators, from what I hear, are being harassed and retaliated against when they speak up against this board and the superintendent. There is a huge anonymous survey on the lack of professionalism created by this superintendent. The environment is so toxic, it's forced 2 administrators to find work elsewhere. How many more are we going to have to lose? Dr. DeLeon, I'm coming to you tonight asking you to please go fight for our kids. And if you're not going to fight for our kids, clear the way for somebody who will follow through and fight for our kids and continue to make Glendora a great city and school district. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read something that somebody gave me from somebody who was an employee here. I would like to express my concerns to the board regarding the work environment that is evolving around the Glendora Unified School District. I'm going to finish my letter. It's only about 30 seconds. Our school district has become one that is completely unrecognizable to me. Having discussions with people who are using words such as vicious, toxic, hostile, retaliatory, and harassing to describe our administration. There was a gentleman named Dean Karnowski who inspired athletes, students, and our entire community to be the best. This gentleman was a strong leader who touched so many lives. His legacy lives throughout Glendora. I didn't grow up in Glendora, but I know about this man. It is very common for employees of Glendora Unified School District to begin their career and continue until their retirement. This district was known for providing an uplifting, positive, supportive, warm, welcoming environment to all of its employees. They stayed due to the incredible leaders who provide encouragement and constant motivation. Well, to sum up this letter, I'm not going to keep going and take any more time. The environment has changed here, and I'm sad. I'm sad and I'm disappointed. And I know some of you know me. I'm going to take off my mask, and I know some of you, and you should be ashamed. And I never would speak anything directly to anybody, but ma'am, we need change. Adios.
Thank you, Mr. Luera.
What do you want to do when they don't pay attention to the time?
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Bellotti.
Say something.
I'm a mother of 3. My oldest is a 4th grader in the Glendora Unified School District, and tonight I'm here for her. I don't want to sound redundant because I know you've all heard it already, how important it is that our kids be given the option to return to the classroom. I think by now you know that's our biggest concern and the main reason for being here tonight. Our kids should not be behind a screen for hours a day, period. And I could go on and on about how serious this can and will affect them medically, their physical and mental health, chronic headaches, vision problems, depression, drug and alcohol abuse. Depending on the age, all of our kids are at risk for at least one of these. This isn't an opinion, this is a fact, and I urge you to take it more seriously. Distance learning isn't meeting their needs and it's not meeting our expectations. Despite what you tell yourself, the majority of these students do not enjoy their online interactions. My child was part of that meeting with you, Dr. DeLeon, and I can say for 100% fact that most of those kids said nothing about enjoying distance learning. Dr. DeLeon, I know you're new here, but Glendora takes pride in its schools, in its stellar reputation this district has, and quite honestly, it's being ruined. This community is small, and word travels fast. So we know you originally stated you were one of the superintendents who were not for reopening. We know the morale is not high. We know that teachers are struggling. We know that members of our community are leaving and taking their kids elsewhere to get their education. The current climate is absolutely changing Glendora and not for the better. My fourth grader just recently told me how she wished so badly she could be eating lunch at school because when you're in 4th and 5th grade, you get to eat lunch with each other, and she was really excited to be a 4th grader eating lunch with all of her friends. This may sound small to you, but it's really big to her. She wants to see her teacher in the flesh. She misses her principal, school spirit, using a paper and pencil, and of course she misses her friends. I've heard people say it's just 1 year, but no, it is not just 1 year to these kids. It's a year they never get to do again. What about the seniors who've waited years for this? Football players who don't get to wear their jerseys to school on game day or play under the lights with packed stands. They don't get this time back. You need to advocate for them. Be a stronger voice. As parents, we need transparency. We need more information. For example, the waivers. Why aren't you communicating with us about them? Why don't we know the details? From what I understand, the applications needed letters from teachers and parents. So where did those come from and why weren't we informed? I realize you answer to someone. I know the decision to reopen doesn't rest solely in your hands, but I ask you to please try harder. If I could spend hours in a casino or go get a tattoo in a parlor, our children should be allowed in their classrooms. If science proves that children do not carry or transmit COVID-19 the way adults do, and they are at no greater risk by returning to school, then why not try harder? Why are we taking into consideration LA County's numbers as a whole when they are not relevant to this community? Glendora numbers are very low. And specifically, I would like to know how many of the cases in Glendora are children and how many of those cases of children have passed away.
Thank you very much for your comment, Mr. Lowry.
Thank you.
Tonight I want to talk to you about a case. It's filed in September of 2019. Plenty of time for it to have been found because it's a matter of public record. The case is called Joy Hirayashi versus Oxnard Union High School versus Penelope de Leon. I was going to read provisions of it, but it's 40 pages long, replete with allegations of wrongdoing on the part of the district, and specifically Superintendent de Leon while she was there. The types of claims arise out of sexual harassment, not just to Joy Hirayashi, but to cheerleaders. Ms. Hirayashi filed a claim for fair employment, and from that point forward, she was ridiculed. There's a toxic work environment, there's retaliation, they piled work on her. She was given disciplinary action students. She was given 50 more students than other teachers were given. She made complaints many times to Superintendent de Leon. They were not followed up on. There is instead coaching of witnesses. There is violation of board policy. There is violation of administrative regulations. And the important thing is, in these 40 pages, the claims that are made are factual. They are backed up by emails that counsel for plaintiff has. I gotta wonder if you were told about this before the hiring. Probably not, and certainly not to the extent of what's in here. But if I'm a juror and I'm looking at this, I'm thinking what they did was go out of their way to make this woman's life miserable so that she would resign. And we're seeing and feeling some of that going on in our district already. The problem I've got with it is not only was it probably not disclosed to you and you didn't find it, it's that you're not being told, I gather, about the fact that this case is still very live. Do you know that she's got a mandatory settlement conference coming up in December? That's going to take all day. She's got depositions coming up. That's going to take some time. And she's got a 15-day jury trial coming up in February. Are you paying her for that while she's gone? Did this make any difference to you whatsoever? This is the person you hired to bring to our district. And my feeling after watching this and reading this thing and seeing what the emails are, many of them are written by Ms. DeLeon herself. They've got the proof that they need, and Oxnard's in a lot of trouble, and you hired this person. I don't come with only doom and gloom, however. There is a way out, and the gift I have for you tonight is called the after acquired evidence doctrine. In the employment context, that means you can fire somebody when they've failed to disclose things during the hiring process or misrepresented to you.
Time. Thank you very much for your.
I'm going to give you the citation. Take this down. Camp versus Jeffer, Mangles and Butler. It's 1995 case, 35 Cal App 4th, 620, 632. That was built upon in Salas, which is 59 Cal 4th at 430 and 431.
Sir, if you'd like to submit this in writing, we'd appreciate having it that way.
You should have found it yourself.
Sir,
It's a matter of public record. It was on you if you had done your due diligence.
Thank you for your public comment.
Do your job.
Thank you very much. That concludes our in-person public comment for the evening. Did we receive any additional emails that need to be read through the public comment board meeting email address? Thank you very much. All right, that concludes the public input portion of our meeting this evening. We'll now move on to our discussion action items. Item number 1, I'll let Mr. Shaldu make his way forward here. Accept the developer fee annual report for the reporting period ended June 30th, 2020 as presented. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Merkley.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Fernando. Mr. Shaldu.
Good evening. So this is an annual report that we bring to the Board of Education. This is going to be the annual report based on the fact of all of the developer fee expenditures and revenues that we received over the 2019-20 fiscal year. From this report, you can see that the ending balance as of June 30, 2020 was $3.3 million. This past year, there were not as many developments and or fees collected. You can see that it's a decrease as from the prior year of $146,000. And the total fees collected for 2019-20 is a little over $152,000. So the total expenses reported in this fund for developer fees was $730,000. Primarily, that's been used for capital facilities. So the purpose of the developer fees are for implementing capital facilities, structures, and improvements for the money that is generated based on the developer fee fund. So there's a good portion of that went into technology infrastructure that can be capitalized, such as routers and other cabling and things like that. There's also some capital projects that go into the buildings in order to make sure that the students coming in and that we are housed properly with developer fees. So you can see that is actually deficit spending, which is good. We do have a sufficient account balance with that fund. So we do want to see it spent out over the next few years as we collect the funds as well. Any questions?
Seeing no questions, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. On to discussion action item number 2, approve the settlement agreement for OAH case number 202-00-90457. May I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Fernando and Mr. Ellenson. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously 5-0. We move on to our consent items for the evening. Before I ask for a blanket motion for all consent items, are there any individual consent items any board member would like to pull out for discussion? Seeing none, may I please ask for a motion for a blanket motion for our consent items?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ellenson and Mrs. Merkley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We pass all of our consent items unanimously. We'll now move on to comments from the board, members of the Board of Education. Ms. Ward.
Thank you, Mrs. Reuter. I wrote some things down this afternoon and they seem kind of timely after some of our presentations. I just wanted to share that I went on the website of Senator Anthony Portantino on October 29th. There is a mental health regarding COVID-19 for teenagers. What's the relationship? And it's very easy to find. You can go on his website under Anthony Portantino under the 25th District, and it's under his press releases, so if anyone's interested in that. I urge the public to please, please, please check the Glendora Unified School District website and your school site's website for current information and links that you can go on and find information about our COVID numbers on a weekly basis. They're only updated every week. We don't get a daily update. It's being checked every single week and day by employees of our district. I want to send out kudos to the sites for organizing materials distribution, library access, fun activities such as pumpkin carving, turkey trot, Red Ribbon Week, I'll say that slow twice, for the students to get involved in. And I encourage students to get involved in things at your site that are putting on. I also want to say from my heart that truly, if you're not getting the answers you want, it doesn't mean that we're not asking the questions. I told my teenage kids that all through their life, and I think sometimes people forget that we do ask questions, we do knock on doors, we do care about our kids, and it's not always the answers that people like, but we are asking the questions. And finally, I'd like to, I don't know that it's public yet, so I'm not going to say it. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Borg. Mrs. Merkley.
That's you. I said no.
Oh, no, okay.
Yes, I know it's me.
I
do need the reminder.
Dr. Fernando?
Thank you. So just a warm thanks to our teachers. On Friday, I had the pleasure of observing a third grade class at Cullen and just was tremendously impressed with the pedagogy, with the interaction that she was engaging with, the ways that she was engaging Canvas. Again, I know that these are not ideal times, and if they were, we wouldn't be wearing a mask right now. But I really appreciated the work that I saw in what she was doing, and the ways that she was really working hard to engage our students. So really appreciate that opportunity. That's it.
Mr. Ellenson?
Thank you. I would just like to take an opportunity to express gratitude to Dr. De Leon. I'm sure joined by all members of the board in expressing our gratitude to you for everything that you're doing for this district on a daily basis, 7 days a week. This is a very difficult time always to be a new superintendent in a school district, that had been served by longtime superintendents that had all left positive legacies. Add to that the middle of a global pandemic, and it is impossible to win with everyone. I think I can speak for the 5 of us to say that you are winning with us in everything that you do. Thank you for following all direction that you get from the board. We know that you share our desire to have all of our students back in the classroom as soon as possible, and you also share our desire to do it as safely as possible and to not violate any rules that would be beneath the standard that this district operates.
Thank you.
We are grateful for the efforts that you do every day to lead an outstanding team of people, to do everything appropriately, to celebrate their successes, to make the best of what everyone agrees is a very difficult situation. I do not envy you. I do not want your job. But please know that not one segment of this community speaks for everyone. This is a district of 7,000 kids, and this is a community of tens of thousands. You have 700 employees that are working in this organization, and let's keep in mind what those numbers are, and how many students, parents, families, community members, and employees appreciate what you're doing for this community of students every single day. We are just 5 of them, but there are many, many more.
Thank you.
So thank you for celebrating everyone in this organization, and let us celebrate you for making that happen every day.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Trustee Ellenson. Thank you. All of you, thank you.
I don't know how I could say it better than that. Thank you very much, Mr. Ellenson. I do also just want to thank the members of the community that came out tonight to express their opinion. And really, I do want to thank again, and I mentioned it in my remarks after the superintendent's report, but to the district office team, the principals, the teachers, the coordinators, the aides, the classified employee, everybody, the super 75, whatever the number is, and I'm sure it's even bigger than that. And the families who put their trust in their teachers and in their school district last week to bring their kids back to school and to help us start the path towards bringing all of our students back. I know it's warmed all of our teachers and administrators' hearts to hear kids back on campuses again. And my sincere thanks and appreciation for all of the hard work that's being done on a daily and around the clock basis. Thank you very much. With that, I'll ask for a motion of adjournment. Thank you, Dr.
Second.
Fernando. Thank you, Ms. Borg. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned at 8:18 p.m.